Okay. Sorry for the late start there, folks. I'm back. It is 2:30 p.m., so starting a little late for the stream. So apologies on that. I had to take care of a few things before I got started officially. So mainly applying for jobs, filling out unemployment, and then um, yeah, I wanted to do a little bit more in terms of the Genshin Impact, saying that I'm very close to trying to get that one last wish for a set of 10. Um, I may consider streaming that tomorrow to um, to kind of show if I got anything decent. And then I'll switch on over to Warframe after that. But for those of you that are just kind of watching Pega right at this moment in time, or you're interested in mainly Pega, then well, that's you don't really care about that kind of jazz. I mean, if you want to, you're welcome to go check out the other playlists that I have, but um, most likely you're kind of focused on Pega. That's perfectly fine. I understand completely on that. Um, so let's get started, shall we? Um, I'm going to go through the next topic. We're not going to go into anything else. So, just wanted to kind of stay on track on that. A little bit about me. I'm working towards my system architect certification. I do these videos to kind of keep me on track on that. So that's who I am. Okay, I am not, um, you know, I'm not an authorized training partner. Do not consider this an instructor-led training. Um, if you want instructor-led training, you're welcome to pay the money that is required for said training. It is expensive, in my opinion, but I would hope that you would get your money's worth from it. Okay, meaning that they will give you everything that you need. You learn everything that you can to get the certification for whatever topic that you're trying to go for. Whether it's system architect, business architect, whatever, what have you. One would hope that the instructor would teach you and everything that there is to learn about said subject so that you can easily pass said certification. Um, at least one would hope. Okay, the instructor-led training would be most likely from someone officially from Pega, so one would hope that they know everything that there is to know and teach about Pega to you. And hopefully they're a good teacher too. Um, I had an authorized training partner that was not a good teacher. So um, I think there was like maybe one or two students out of our like 20 people altogether that might have continued and still tried to listen to him. But the majority of us went to self-study because it was terrible. Um, so, um, but even then, I was not able to get past the certification. I was rushed into the certification testing, and well, I did not pass. Which, I mean, it goes to show, you need to know you need to know what Pega is all about, when you get there, and, when you try for the certification. So, um, so do what you can, try to learn what you can, restudy everything, um, take mock certification tests, you know, work on the areas that you are weak in, you know, try to get questions answered, whatever you can do, ask me questions if you want to. I'll try to answer them if I can, or I will see what I can do about, providing some individuals that might be able to answer them. Um, you know, whatever, you know. Um, so just keep on working towards that certification. So, um, um, like I said yesterday, I kind of wish that I could move these around a little bit, but whatever. Um, if you're part of the business analyst, work on the Pega Express delivery or look into the Pega Express delivery. That will help you out. Um, Mainly because, here, let me go to certifications again. You know, um, if you look on here, the certified Pega Business Architect, 12% of the questions are going to be on Pega Express. So, um, um, let's see. How many questions out of 50 is that potentially? About 6 questions, give or take. But, I mean, 6 questions on the entirety of Pega Express. So, and it might not, you know, what might be talked about might not necessarily be um, the topics that are covered in these two modules by themselves. That's why I suggest the mission. Because at least the mission will probably go into more in depth for you to help you out. So, we are going to go ahead and finish off the technical architecture today. Um, then tomorrow we'll go into backlog creation. Um, I'm doing it for anybody that is working on their business architecture itself. So once I finish off with this particular mission, then I will switch back over to the system architecture. Um, so, okay, let's get into this. Definition of technical architecture. Technical architecture refers to the design of the application itself. One of the key advantages of building with Pega Platform is the ability to design your application and reuse key components across multiple microjourneys and channels, even other applications. With this flexibility, when it comes time to change something, you can do it once. You want to leverage Pega Platform features in the technical design of your application. So, when it comes to coding, you want to be able to reuse over and over and over again. Okay. Um, copy and paste in code is common. If you have a solution in one part in a different application and you have to find a way to actually apply it to another application, then you can just kind of take that code and move it over to the other one. Same kind of difference. Okay. For Pega platform, they're basically saying, hey, if you got something over here that you can apply for over there, there you go. That's good. That's good design. That's good working with what you have. Okay, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Um, but at the same time, things can change, and there might be some additional changes that you might need to do um, for that changeover. Like there might be something else that needs to be added. So don't, you know, uh, copy and paste might be fine, but go over what you just pasted and make sure that it actually works. Or if you need to add anything more to it. Okay, don't be comfortable with the whole copy and paste because believe me, um, I found errors you know, in copy and pasting. So Don't do that. Be careful. Be careful how you go about doing that. So, technical design considerations. Technical design begins in the prepare phase and is refined during the build phase. The lead system architect drives the technical design activity to ensure that the application you build makes the best use of out-of-the-box features and reuse. The LAS or LSA, LAS, right, focuses on establishing a high-level technical design and implementing the foundation components for the solution. Foundation components include creating the initial definition of the case types, personas, and data objects for any microjourney prioritized within the release. The LSA works with the product owner, business architect, user experience designer, and client-side technical architects to agree on a high-level design that meets current and future business goals and aligns with the customer's existing technical infrastructure. Now, it might be easy to do current because they might have that might be what they might be just kind of focused on. Like, hey, we have this particular problem, we need to get it fixed for what's going on right now. Okay, but you might want to look at what happens in the future as well. Like uh, hey, we have calls coming in, like 20 calls, per minute, and we have to handle this or something like that. Um, can you make sure that we can, handle the amount of um, the traffic, coming in, up to maybe 50, kind of thing, right? But what happens if they might expand even more and suddenly they're getting beyond 50 calls a minute or something along those lines? Maybe they go international and they're still taking in calls into that call center or something like that. Now, one would think that they might want to consider maybe branching out, have different call centers in different areas of their international, so they won't necessarily have that kind of problem. But um, corporations with their call centers in other countries, I mean, hmm. um, but you know, maybe the amount of phone calls um, once again exceeds that. So you might want to, you know, consider the possibility that, hey, um, you might fix, you might put a band-aid on something, but you might face another problem later on. So, as a LSA, you might want to look at what, they might face later on, you know, or they may come to you and say, hey, this is what we currently have as a problem right now, but we're suspecting that we're probably going to be dealing with this sometime in the future, you know. So, like, hey, um, we are, we need to have a slight fix on our web page right now to handle this current problem that we're dealing with. But we're in the future planning on doing a full redesign of our web page that will handle everything. So, you know, so that one problem might need to be addressed in that, future web page, right? So, try to design it like so. So, as part of the application design activity, the LSA ensures best practices in these areas: application structure, data model, case design, user access and security, integration, deployment and DevOps, reporting, user experience, user interface. The LSA is also responsible for the technical quality of the application. Why they're talking so much about the LSA, 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 I have no idea because this is supposed to be about the business architect, um, not the LSA. Um, you know, um, I mean, here, hold on. Um, I mean, the LSA, as you can see, has its own mission. So why are we talking so much about LSA and what they are needing to do here? I don't know. I mean, this is supposed to be about business architecture. Okay. Um, they should be talking about what business architecture's main job about the technical design considerations, not necessarily what the lead system architect is all about. Um, you know, they should be addressing how the business architect works with the lead system architect, maybe. That's probably the better, you know, viewpoint there. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Um, you might want to have some idea as to what an LSA is supposed to be in charge of, and um, that amount of information might be kind of helpful. But I mean, they did an entire, multiple paragraphs for LSA. It's like you're missing the point. Oh, the LSA is also responsible for the technical quality of the application. Pega's best practice is to automate the unit and scenario testing to ensure the quality of the build and set up DevOps pipelines to streamline the integration of changes in your application. The LSA is responsible for ensuring that the application structure is organized to support automated testing. For more information on testing, see the Pega Academy topic, Crucial Testing Approaches. Again, that should fall under the LSA, not necessarily the um, business architect. Um, so I'm a little worried about this, there, folks. Okay, because the fact that they're including this might mean that this might still be on the business architect certification exams. Okay, when in fact, um, you know, this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with business architect. Um, or has little to do with it. I mean, the whole link of crucial testing approaches has no bearing on the business architect. So I I don't know what I can offer you on this. Okay, I could say check out that link, look at the information, try to learn that information because it might be on the test. I could say that, but I don't know. Okay, I don't know what they might throw on the business architect certification at this point in time because they're giving information that the lead system architect that has its own mission, that has its own certification, should be covering more than what the business architect is supposed to be all about. I don't know. I can't tell you about this um, because this looks like it's a confusing Um, this looks like it's quite a confusing topic for a business architect. Um, and you know what? Let me go ahead and at least maybe take a little bit. Um, and I'll ask them what their idea is for this because um, at the very least I can maybe try to get some answers to it for you, so that you know, um, um, so you aren't blindsided on your certification exam for business architect, or at least maybe, I don't know. Hard to say. Here, let me go down and address that right now. Matter of fact, so there is a section in this topic that covers. Here, actually, I'm going to choose the file directly so that I don't forget about it. And the section in this that covers, I'll say, lead system architects going over what they need, what they need to do. However, the mission itself falls into BA, business architect. I could understand this section if it was also included within the, I'll say, mission. However, it isn't. Knowledge. Haven't gone through that mission, so I know. So, what is the point of this entire section and the testing link? Are is the information presented here on the business architect certification test? It just seems odd. Yeah, let me kind of separate this out a little bit. Would figure that the section would be about the communication that the business architect would have with the LSA to get the overall work done. But it doesn't really do that. Maybe a rewording to show what the work between the BA and LSA would entail. I'm messing up that word. How do you spell that? That's how you do it. Okay. Silly me. Entail. All right, let me go back up there. I've barely scratched the surface on this. So, yeah, this is a bit weird. All right. Application structure. Before creating the application, see our Senior System Architect course for more information. The LSA works with the product owner and business architects to understand the reach of the application within the organization. Based on this input, the LSA ensures that the application is designed to support both immediate and long-term business goals. I mean, wouldn't the business architect also be trying to handle that as well? Again, the wording here sounds like they're trying to um they're trying to put the weight on the lead system architect when in fact they already have a mission for that. So, you know, um they should kind of reword it for the business architect, not necessarily for the LSA. I'm just speaking out loud here, there, folks. This flexibility is achieved by layering applications on top of each other. Doing so results in situational layer cake comprised of 4 levels: organization, framework, division, and implementation. The situational layer cake is something that is very key to Pega. So remember, the situational layer cake and the different parts of it: the organization, framework, division, and implementation. The fact that they don't really um, talk about that too much in throughout their modules is also another failure in my particular opinion. It's like, hey, what you're doing right now, you know, might tend to fall on the situational layer cake for the organization or for the framework, or for the division or for the implementation, that kind of thing. Um, this, this particular challenge is, typically reflected, as, something that you would change for the division or, whatever, right? Something along those lines. But Again, they don't really discuss this very much. Um, Now, I'm hoping that they do a little bit more on the situational layer cake, but I don't think so. So, so you're going to need to learn more about the situational layer cake probably on your own a little bit more. So, for more another perspective on the importance of the situational layer cake, view this partner spotlight talk in Pega community. What is this again? Um, Okay, apparently it is a 9-minute video about it. This content has been archived and is no longer being updated. Links may not function. However, this content may be relevant to outdated versions of the product. This is 8.7. That doesn't fill me with up with much confidence. So let me add a suggestion there. Um, so here, actually, let me get the image in. So just clicked on the link for the partner spotlight, and what I see at the very top of the web page is this content may be relevant to outdated versions of the product. I'm going over 8.7, which might be slightly outdated as you are working on 8.8, but maybe a new video is in order. It is a 5-year-old video. Um, so I can understand if new keywords are needed, um, yeah, this was filmed at the Customer Engagement Summit in Amsterdam, March 2018. So, or maybe a topic or module is needed to replace the entire video until a new one is created. It just doesn't fill me with confidence that the link is talking about how a current product could be considered outdated. Okay. My gosh. Already I have 2 suggestions for this particular page there, folks. Oh, geez. This is not going very well. Alright. Alright. Failing to understand the reach of the application within the organization may limit your opportunities for reuse. In the following image, click the plus icons to learn more about each of the 4 layers of the situational cake. So you have the organization layer, you have the framework layer, you have the division layer, and you have the implementation layer. So implementation. The implementation layer defines an application customized for a specific division or line of business. The application contains the processes, business rules, and data model that is specific to that line of business division. The implementation layer is located at the top of the situational layer cake. Applications within the layer can refer to applications that are lower in the layer cake to make use of reusable components. So basically so a good majority of the changes that we were making on the challenges, those would be kind of falling under the implementation because we were just kind of changing pretty much the certain scenarios for within a certain situation. Okay, we have only like one particular um, case lifecycle, for example, that handled one particular scenario, right? Um, so that would a good majority of the challenges would probably fall under that kind of situation. Okay, but at the same time, it was also talking potentially about personas and the like, which, you know, might be a full-on organizational layer, you know, because you're making, um, you are adding personas that could be applied to, multiple different divisions, multiple different case types, that kind of thing, right? So that's why, I kind of wish that they would try to address that a little bit more. Like, hey, this change is, applied to the application layer or implementation layer, the division layer, the framework layer, the organizational layer, that kind of thing. So you can kind of see, what that challenge was kind of referencing. So why they did framework and division as a single one, I don't really know, but whatever. The middle of the situational layer cake comprises of two optional layers, the framework layer and the division layer. Okay, so apparently they're optional. So so you could pretty much get rid of them, I guess, in that you can have a organization layer and then the implementation layer and completely ignore the framework and division. I don't know about that, because um, I would be a little concerned about ignoring the framework and division because if you um, if you don't get that kind of set up early, then trying to, you know, put your implementation layers into their respective divisions might be a little odd to handle later on. Okay, better to get a solid foundation at the very start than trying to reorganize later. Um, but that's me. That's my thought line. The middle of the framework layer contains assets that can be extended to specific implementations. Division layer contains assets used on the division-wide basis. The framework layer may be comprised of one or more generalized applications, such as standard Pega platform application for a specific industry or an extendable custom application. The framework layer is optional. Pega Express methodology suggests that the LSA consider the need for a framework layer during prepare to take advantage of common components and maximize reuse. The framework's layer location in the layer cake varies depending on the business needs and the organizational design. In this example, the framework layer reflects a custom application that contains common components for applications within a specific division. It is possible to locate the framework layer lower in the layer cake, for example, if no divisional layer exists. Organizational layer contains assets used on the enterprise-wide basis, such as assets provided capabilities for enterprise-wide business logic, such as standard properties, decision tables, and service level rules. So, um, I mean, one nice thing about this is the fact that they're talking about, standard properties, decision tables, and service level rules, right? That's part of the enterprise-wide business logic, right? And those decision tables could be, potentially reused. Service level rules could be potentially reused, right? But they didn't really state that in the framework or division, like, what kind of um, parts of the case lifecycle would fall under the framework layer or division layer. That's something that didn't really get explained very well. Now they're talking about case life cycles, um, during it, but um, take advantage of common components and maximize reuse. But it's it's a little odd um, that um, they're not um, they're not like giving examples as to what could be put under the framework layer or what could be considered a framework layer kind of thing. So, um, okay, here's an example that they're doing a little bit more. Okay, so a clothing retailer consists of two brands of stores. One brand focuses on the upscale clothing market, while the other brand runs a value-oriented chain of stores. Each brand must manage returned items. The retailer can develop a generalized application that manages clothing returns in the framework layer. Each brand can then create an application layer to utilize the returns process. Each customized application contains brand-specific assets such as styling and policies. The technical design decisions taken in the prepare phase can reflect an application structure in the following layers. So the implementation layer for an upscale brand returns specializations, another the other application layer for the value brand of return specialization. So basically if you bought a piece of clothing from the value brand and you try to return it, then it goes through this particular layer here to handle what policies are needed for that. Okay. Um, then it goes to the framework layer, common technical components for the returns process. So, um, say like, hey, you just got back this piece of clothing. How do you handle that return? You know, um, is there damage on the piece of clothing? Do you send it back to the manufacturer to get it, fixed so that it can be and someone can try to resell it, that kind of thing, right? So, organization layer, common technical assets for all areas of the business. Um, might not necessarily fall under the returns process, but maybe, you're actually selling the product, so there might be like another framework layer for handling of selling of said products and the like, right? So the organization layer might, cover that as well, that kind of thing. So, and then of course you got the Pega platform, but you know that um, that's standard. Okay, we're not necessarily talking about the Pega platform and the um, four layers, and the situational layer cake. So, I mean, if you purchase Pega platform, you're already you already have that layer included. So this is about trying to build what assets you need for the business. So starting at the top, working down through the layers. Highest layers are the implementation layers, one for each store that sit side by side on top of the framework layer. Well, I mean, you don't necessarily want to do it for each store, you know. Um, I mean, unless the store is like a franchise, maybe, then maybe for each store. But you'd want one for each brand, upscale brand and value brand, okay? Because there might be multiple stores of that, you know. Think like J.C. Penney, for example. You know, you know, uh, someone might consider that more value brand than upscale brand, right? Um, so are you gonna do an implementation for every single store that's out there for J.C. Penney, or are you gonna kind of consider, like J.C. Penney as like the brand of J.C. Penney, has that. So, you know, Let's see. Each implementation layer specific to each store includes upscale brands and return specialization. Beneath the implementation layer is the framework layer that contains common technical components for the returns process. Framework layer sits above the organization layer. Notice the fact that they did not include the division layer. Okay. Um, they didn't necessarily include that because they saw that there wasn't really a need for a division about it all. Um, but here's the thing, they might have tried to do something along those lines, um, um, like maybe they have like an upscale jewelry as well. Okay, so they might have they might have like the implementation layer for clothing, upscale clothing, and upscale jewelry. Then they can put that under one particular division for upscale, and then of course you have the framework layer. You get what I'm saying? So it all depends on how you want to kind of approach um, the how do you want to do the layers kind of thing. So the fact that they didn't really include that in the example is kind of unfortunate. They really should do more in that. You know, give a full example. Don't leave out something. You know, don't be lazy there, Pega. You guys need to um, give a good example that covers everything, so everybody can kind of understand what you're talking about a certain topic. All right. Beneath the implementation right, organizational layer sits above the Pega platform layer and contains the common technical assets for all areas of the business. This sits low down on the layered application so it can be used by any process or store that needs to reuse it. Finally, the Pega platform layer resides at the bottom, allowing all residual functionality to be used by the layers above. Oh yeah. Applications require data for some sort of sourced. Um, Applications require data of some sort sourced either from within the enterprise or external to the organization. What do you mean some sort sourced? Mm, there is a sentence that is confusing. What do you mean by some sort sourced? Right. Data sources within the organization, identify data stored within Pega platform applications and other legacy systems within the organization. Data external to the organization, identify data stored in third-party software systems or applications. You start your data model by determining what data elements are stored within the existing systems. In total, you consider data from three sources: Pega, company, and external data. When considering the design decisions regarding data, there are three aspects to keep in mind: the enterprise data model, data applicable at the enterprise level and available for all applications developed or configured within the enterprise. Application data model, data maintained within the application. And the standard data model, data that needs a lookup or reference data source. Lookup reference data can be sourced from external services or systems of record or internal reference tables. Ensure that there is a single source for reference data. It can get very complicated to track different versions of data if lookup data is maintained in multiple locations. While working on the data model, keep in mind the assignment of appropriate data types and length of each data item. Example of a data model. A company, MyDebit, offers debt solutions to persons who are in financial difficulty. MyDebt has a Pega platform application called DebtSoul that provides a capability for the frontline debt caseworkers to take calls from individuals and offer debt solutions to address their current difficulties. The solution is designed to record details about the individual and their current financial situation, for example, debts, income, expenditure, and assets, and then use business rules to offer a solution to address their debts. The data model for the application uses an existing enterprise data or enterprise class data model to record the individual's personal details and has identified a data model specific to the DebtSoul application. In the following image, click the plus icons to view the example data model. So, application data. The DebtSoul application data model includes specific data classes to hold information about the individual's financial situation. This information is used only by the DebtSoul application as defined in the application data model. The following list there is generic data class for common elements related to financial details, along with several specialist classes, each defining the different data elements relevant to the specific aspect of the financial information. DebtSoul Data Finance, common data elements for all elements relating to the financial details. Asset data elements specifically for assets. Debt data elements specifically about the debts. Income data elements specifically about the income. And expenditure data elements specifically about the expenditure. Standing data. The DebtSoul application has several codes used by the caseworker to record details about the individual's financial information. The application presents the user with drop-down lists from which they can select the appropriate code to ensure consistency. The DebtSoul standing lookup reference data model defines the data classes to record the details of the codes and descriptions used in the application. Ensure that the data is held separately from the transactional data. The following list of data classes contain reference data associated with the asset details and the debt details. So, reference data finance asset, drop down list names and codes of assets, drop down list names and codes of debt. And then, of course, there's the enterprise data model. Includes 3 data classes for the enterprise level. A generic definition of a person or company that has a relationship with MyDebt, and 2 specialist person data classes that define specific data elements relevant to the relationship they have with MyDebt. The following list of employee data class holds data about the employee staff number. This data is not relevant to the customer class. Both classes are available for other Pega applications that MyDebt has in use. Person, customer, employee, and that's it. User access and security. Authentication of the Pega platform ensures that only users and systems with verified identities can access resources such as web pages, APIs, and data. Examples of authentication include user logins, platform requests to external services, and external service requests to the platform. Consider and choose an appropriate authentication mechanism and configuration for the operator records to accounts for the organizational hierarchy, work groups, and work queues. You can use authorization or access control features in Pega Platform to restrict user actions. Review the three basic authorization models up front with your team to decide which is applicable to your project: role-based access control, attribute-based access control, and client-based access control. Remember those because most likely you're probably going to be seeing it on the certification test. I mean, if they're highlighting this, then most likely it will come up potentially in the certification test. So at the very least, remember role based, attribute based, and client based. Okay, or I mean, uh, based access control, based access control, based access control, right? So you want to make sure that this is role, this is attribute, and this is client. So just remember um, those three types, and you'll be okay. Now, um, now obviously, um, you'll want to maybe look up some additional information about that, potentially. Um, so, because they don't really seem to address this further at this particular moment of time, but um, one would hope that there's some additional information on that. Otherwise, um, it'd be quite confusing as to what they are referencing if they don't have some form of um, topic or module that addresses what exactly they are referencing and how they go about, you know, being models. You know how they handle the access control, that kind of thing. So um, now, again, this feels like it kind of falls more on the LSA than the business architect, but at the same time, the business architect might need to know about them as well so that they can basically go, okay, so you're looking for an application that might be more, role based than anything else, that kind of thing. Or, you might need something that that an application that does all three of them or something like that. You never know. It is also important to review and determine which items within the security checklist apply to the project context during the prepare phase. Pay special attention to the following: authentication scheme, access groups and roles, organizational structure, timeout configuration, auditing, and security file uploads. For any sensitive or personal identifiable information data items, apply appropriate security to protect the user's configuration and access, such as encryption, obfuscation, and control access. For more information about application security, see the Pega Academy topic security checklist. So, yeah, if you're really, you know, if you're handling any kind of customer information that you don't want to have leaked at all, then you're going to want to make sure that your security is top notch. So, you don't have um, hackers, you know, easily breaking um, into your website, into your application, and finding out um, all the information that it can. So, be careful with that. Okay, Pega platform supports a range of integration standards and communication protocols, allowing you to focus on your application's business requirements rather than on connectivity issues. Review and validate that for each integration component you have appropriate details for configuration and delivery. For example, ensure you have visibility, understanding, and clarity concerning the following aspects related to integration component. For each integration component, URLs per environment, protocols, authentication, cloud or on-premise repository or third-party content management, SSL uh, and TLS versions, certificates, ports. So um, this this once again goes into another uh, layer of handling what you're going to be doing. If anything, if the application has to be you know online in any shape or form, okay, which I mean, let's face it, good majority of them have to be nowadays, or at least it almost feels that way, right? Then you're going to need to make sure that you are handling these properly, and obviously maintaining them, you know, because if the URLs change, then you could be potentially breaking you know parts of your application. So be careful with that. You know, um, um, like for example, it might be in your best interest to um, maybe like make a like an object or something along those lines that handles you know that particular URL. So if you have to reference it, somewhere in your application, you can just kind of call that object and it gets referenced, right? You know, so if you need to change the URL, then you can just do it right there, and it applies to everything on your on like maybe multiple applications. So that's something that you want to potentially do. Okay, remember that when you're making code, sometimes it's easier to change it in one spot and have it affect multiple parts of your application than trying to go to each part, each portion of your code and trying to change it there. So like for example, let's give an example like this. Let's say you're working on legacy code and some previous programmer decided that for each there's three Java files out there, and they decided that they wanted to put the company's URL as a um, as a string for each one of those files or something like that um, that they reuse over and over and over again, right? But here's the thing: if you go to one of those files and change that string from one URL address to another, but you don't go to the other two, what happens to those other two? Well, now they are going to basically dead locations. Now they have 404 on them or something along those lines. So um, so it might be better to have something that maybe that Java program is referencing, like um, maybe another Java file that actually has that URL saved there, okay, and it references that information in each of those three files. So now now instead of, three different locations of, trying to change that URL, now you can just change that one location and you're done, right? That kind of thing, you know, that kind of mentality. So, you know, reuse, you know, don't make it difficult for you. Deployment and DevOps. Deployment of the application is performed through the project's lifecycle to migrate the application through the different environments from development to staging to production. Client side IT department and your technical team must agree on their approach to manage the work within the development environment and how best to deploy the application. Include DevOps from the start of the project. LSA leads DevOps discussions during the prepare phase and ensure adherence with the Pega Express best practices, ensuring technical quality and speed of delivery. In these discussions, the LSA establishes the application structure and DevOps best practices for the Pega application technical team. Once again, they're referencing LSA in this, and this is supposed to be for business architecture. I don't know. But remember, you know, this process of development to staging to production is something that you are going to be seeing everywhere. You know, every time that you are doing anything on the job at any particular location, right? So, um, so first is development, where um, you're working on the code, you're building the case lifecycle, you're changing things that need to be changed in development. Okay, and you're testing out your code to make sure that it's working the way you were told that it needs to work, right? So that's the whole development. Then you go to staging, where now you're having the people that are wanting that particular product, you know, they're looking at it, they're testing it out, they're seeing if it actually works the way they want it to work. Okay, you know, they're making sure that um, you know, the development that was done is actually meeting the needs for um, you know, for what they're looking for. They're also testing out, you know, does it cause any kind of problems with the database or with websites? Does it cause any kind of other, you know, potential issues? Does it cause any additional bugs? You know, that kind of thing, right? You want to make sure about that, because if you know, put out a product that causes bugs in other already established applications, then you're going to have to roll back everything back to the development stage to try to fix all of that. And you're going to be talking about, like, you know, issues upon issues with that, because now you might be messing up customer information, for example, right? So, you know, like, let's say um, you're trying to you're trying to open up the company to international sales, right? Well, what happens if you're um, you know, if your development is designed in such a fashion where it's only addressing whoever's in the United States? Like, it says, you know, hey, we need your address information. What state are you in? And someone in Europe is going, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, that kind of thing, right? So, so if it goes out into production along those lines, you know, it hits the European market and they're suddenly going, wait, what do you mean by state? We're not in the United States. Where's Germany? Where's France? Where's England? You know, that kind of thing. And so now they have to roll everything back, you know, they need to put the, you know, old version back, kind of thing, back into production, back in, you know, so the customers can do what they need to do, and it goes right back to development to handle that kind of situation. You get what I'm saying? So yeah. DevOps is a set of practices that bridge application development and operational behavior to reduce time to market without compromising quality and operational effectiveness. It encourages a culture of collaboration between development, quality, and operation teams to reduce and eliminate barriers through fundamental practices such as continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. Using Pega Express Delivery approach, adopting a DevOps approach to application deployment means that the developers use the best practice of working in branches to configure their updates to the application and define deployment pipelines to migrate the application from one environment to another. Full deployments should be configured from the very start. This means that the application as a whole is migrated from one environment to another rather than incremental packages. Applying the best practice ensures that the deployment package contains a cumulative collection of all rules within the application and data, but gives flexibility as it only deploys what has changed since the last deployment. DevOps pipelines should be configured with all recommended checks and balances, include security checklist, guardrail compliance, run unit and scenario tests, and ensure the quality of the application as it is migrated from one environment to another. So, dev pipelines should be configured with the deployment manager. Again, what? Haven't heard about that before. Okay. Looks like it is a program that, um, you know, helps out with the, um, you know, works with the overall pipeline then. So, and apparently it's compatible with a lot of the most recent Pega platforms. So, um, who's in charge of that? Not sure, actually. One would think that maybe the LSA is all about that, which again is another question. It's like, why is this even here in the business architect side of things? You know, if these topics are all LSA, 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 then why is it even added into the business architect? You know, um, I would understand like, hey, the business architect might need to know what the LSA does, but do they really need to know in depth on this? I mean, don't get me wrong, the more you know is, can be quite helpful no matter what you do, right? Um, but I mean, you don't necessarily want all this information being put on a single business architect's shoulders. Um, because then, um, then then a business might look at it and go, hey, we're laying off the LSA. Business architect, you now have the job of the LSA. Okay. And, what is the BA supposed to do at that? You know, are they gonna, you know, try to take up the LSA's role in that? One would hope not, um, because that's, an LSA's job is a lot more in terms of scope than what the BA should be dealing with. LSA is handling all the other system architects. They're the lead system architect. Okay, they have an entire team of system architects under their um, you know under their umbrella. So if the business suddenly says, "Hey, we're getting rid of the LSA, BA, you're now in charge," the BA should be going in there and saying, "I no, don't do this to me. This is, you know, the LSA has a lot of work that they need to handle themselves. Don't do that." You know, um, you should be raising up one of your essays to be the lead system architect. You know, that kind of thing. So, um, the BA shouldn't necessarily know all the ins and outs of what the LSA has to work on. So I don't know. This is a bit odd. So all right, define a clear reporting strategy from the outset to ensure that the Pega platform application is designed to meet both the business operational and management reporting needs. Often, organizations require Pega platform applications to supply data to their existing enterprise data warehouse solutions. It is the best practice to extract the data from your Pega platform by using the page extract tool Business Intelligence Exchange. Identifying this requirement upfront influences the configuration of data objects in the Pega platform application and the enterprise solution used to integrate with the data warehouse. Here are the key design issues to decide upfront when dealing with data extraction. Frequency of extraction, such as daily, weekly, transaction extraction design, each transaction or cumulative end of day transaction, extraction history, all properties or specific properties, extract formats, CSV, XML, or database. Um, a lot of this feels like it's once again falling under the LSA. Uh, um, User interface. User interface architecture forms part of the technical design of the application. You better believe it. UI covers the following: best practices to adopt during the project, working practices for the team. What? That's not user interface. What the fuck is this? Huh? That's weird. Not sure about that. At the start of the project, the UI solutions developer, the UI solutions developer, when did they create a new developer? I'm sorry. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Funny. I don't see a UI solutions developer in the certifications here, guys. What do you mean by UI developer, solutions developer? Um, so what is a UI solutions developer? What does that fall under? SA? LSA? SSA? Maybe. Are you all thinking about creating a new certification specifically for a UI SD? Is that something in the works? Because this is brand new and it doesn't really cover much. As a starter project, the UI solutions developer works collaboratively with the product owner, lead business architect. Lead business architect? They don't even have that. Okay. Works collaboratively with the business owner, lead business architect, lead systems architect, and tester. Right, because there's only one tester. Leads several sessions to define the UI architecture. These early decisions ensure that the UI is easy to maintain, consistent throughout the application, and adheres to UI best practice. The UI solutions developer considers design systems, skin reuse such as branding and styling, non-functional requirements, web self-service architecture, and governance processes. Beginning with Pega platform version 8.3, you have a seamless way to access your UI using Cosmos. For information on how Cosmos helps to create premier user experience, take a look at the Tech Talk on the Pega community. Accelerate your workflow with Cosmos UI. This is a 4-year-old video, which again, outdated versions. Beginning with Pega Platform version 8.7, the Constellation design system enables you to build applications using prescribed design and view-based architecture. For more information on building an application with Constellation, see Configuring Constellation Applications. Is that another video? No, it's a module. Okay. But here's the thing. Is this for the UI solutions developer, whatever that is? Or is that for the BA? I don't know, Therefos. I just don't know what they might put on the certification exam at this point. They are throwing a lot at the business architect at this point, as though they need to throw on all the hats onto their Um, you know, they're needing to have all the hats on them to handle their job. They need to handle the lead system architect. There's supposedly a lead business architect, even though technically there isn't a mission for that. Or at least I don't think there's a mission. Um, you know, Actually, let me check. Um, Missions. Let's see if there is indeed a lead business architect mission. I'm not seeing one. So now, don't get me wrong. Okay, if you have multiple business architects in your employment, then and they're all kind of working on, in a sense, like one division or something along those lines, then most likely you'd want to have someone that is handling the overall business architect side of things. Um, but here's the thing. Um, if you're talking about a single project, then one would expect that there would only need to be at least one business architect. So there wouldn't necessarily be a lead business architect. So already this is a little off. This feels this entire paragraph right here just feels off. So I don't know. That's just me thinking out loud here, there, folks. For those of you working on the business architect and getting to the point of trying to take your certification for it, I wish you luck on this because this whole technical architecture that is falling under the business architect um, is almost telling me as though you need to be able to handle not only being a UI solutions developer, whatever the hell that is. You need to be a lead system architect. Um, you're going to need to know how to handle Cosmos and Constellation. You're going to need to be able to handle DevOps pipelines and deployment manager. Um, Understand security checklists. A lot of this stuff is like, some of this should not be um, put on the BA's shoulders, in my particular opinion. You know, so the fact that it's even covered under the business architect, feels off. Now, like I mentioned yesterday, they are doing a revision of the business architect. Okay, and they plan on deploying a updated version of the business architect in the fall. Okay, so um, one would hope that they really work on this particular section of the business architect because um, it feels like they're throwing everything and you basically have a bucket of for the business architect. And you know what I'm expecting for the business architect is being that bridge between the product owner and the lead system engineer, okay, or lead system architect, okay. So they're talking with the product owner, they're getting the details that they need from that product owner, and then they're talking with the lead system architect on how to build and go about creating that architecture to make everything work the way it needs to work. Okay. And then if the lead system architect is going, well, this doesn't necessarily work this way, you're going to have to go back to the product owner and tell them why, then they can. So, um, you know, the lead system architect doesn't necessarily need to worry about talking with the product owner because let's face it, lead system architect is, probably a programmer like me where talking to someone that's just in business might be, um, might not work out very well. Um, we're programmers, not necessarily, customer service reps. Okay. Um, in a sense, I would basically put BA as kind of like a glorified customer service rep, in my particular opinion. Don't quote me on that. I'm just saying, based off of my thought lines, okay? Because you have the product owner that is basically saying, hey, I work for this company. I work for this company. I want to design something that can be used as a cash register out there or something like that, right? So they go to the business architect and say, hey, this cash register that we had in the past that you helped design, it's no longer working the way we need it to, or we need to redesign it better to handle, new functions. So, work with your lead system architect to help us, design something new. Here's these new functions that we need in the new cash register, right? So the system architect goes to lead, you know, discusses, um, what the product owner is kind of looking for, kind of thinks about, okay, well, here's how I was kind of thinking about doing it. Here's the case life cycle that I was kind of thinking about doing, blah blah blah. And the lead system architect would be like, well, no, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. We can't really do it. If we want to have this for the customers, and you're going to need to change this up, blah blah blah. And then business architect goes back to the product owner and says, okay, this is what we have. This is how we're thinking that it would function, that kind of thing. So the lead system architect shouldn't necessarily be talking directly to the product owner because let's face it, they're most likely going to be talking about, you know, architectures, um, databases, um, rules and rule sets and stuff like that. And the product owner is going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? You get what I'm saying? And the lead system architect might be talking in very technical terms that the product owner doesn't know. Okay, that's what the business architect is kind of there for. So they can kind of take what the lead system architect is talking about and kind of translate it for the product owner. Okay, so at least that's how I would envision a business architect would be. You know, now am I wrong? Quite possible. I don't really know. Okay, I haven't seen too many business architects to really know. I haven't worked as a business architect, so I wouldn't really know. If you're if you are a business architect out there and you've been working in the business for a long time, what it is, what it takes to be a business architect, then feel free to correct me, okay? Put it in give me a message right now, if you're, watching on stream, or if you're watching this video later, um, on YouTube, you know, put some corrections in the comments, okay? That way, other people will be able to see it and see, Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know. You know, if I'm right, then let me know. How am I right? Is there things that I need to maybe change about my perspective of what a business architect is supposed to handle? Also, bear in mind that certain businesses might want more from the business architect than what one other business architect may take on their shoulders. So just bear that in mind. The following image, click the plus icons to learn more about UI design systems. In Pega platform, there are 3 design systems options to choose from: UI Kit, Cosmos, and Constellation. For speed of delivery, it is best to leverage an out-of-box design system. However, if the client organization requires consistency with an existing design system, particularly for public-facing applications, you may need to build a custom design. Skin reuse, branding and styling. As with all technical components, Pega Platform supports reuse of the UI skin by leveraging a situational layer cake to configure the brand and style at the appropriate level in the application stack. Identify the elements of UI styling and branding that are common to all applications at the start of the project. Doing so enables the configuration to take place at the enterprise layer and significantly improves speed of delivery. Non-functional requirements. The primary non-functional requirements to be identified include accessibility, compliance level, which you want to do, okay? Because there's a lot of people out there that, doesn't fit in the standard mold there, folks, okay? Um, some people might be, there are people that are blind, there are people that are deaf, there are people um, that might have English as second language, so they might not know every single word that's out there. That kind of thing. So, accessibility is key, for everything. Don't short that, you know. And that applies to any project that you do, anywhere, no matter what you're working on. Okay. Advocate for that accessibility because the people that they are a minority group if you think about it, and they sometimes need the most amount of performance from you as a developer to be able to work with those applications. Okay, so don't short them on that. Okay, if you give them an application and say, hey, you're blind, well, tough, then there goes a customer for yours. Okay, um, you know, um, there's a guy that I follow on Twitter or X. um, you know, well, his first name was Steven. His last name is Spokane. I don't know. I'm blanking on his last name, but he's an individual that is wheelchair bound. Okay, um, and he has very limited movement, and he advocates for accessibility to play games for those that are disabled that might not have the ability to walk, to use their hands, uh, that might not have um, the movement speed, for someone that uh, for just handling a controller normally, they might need some additional functionality to handle that. Okay. Um, maybe someone might want to still play a game and even if they're blind, they might not necessarily be able to see anything, but maybe they can hear it. You know, it's not saying that they're dead. Come on, they're work with them. So UI performance, screen resolutions, devices. That's um, devices is key there, folks. And also bear in mind that um, making an application that is only good for the most advanced computers out there, you're going to be losing a lot of customers. Okay. So try to make your product available to those that have like the worst computers out there. And believe me, there are some people out there that have not, don't have the money to purchase a new computer. Okay. Such as myself. you know, I, you know, um, oh gosh. Here, let me look up my specs for my computer way back in the day. I don't think I changed it. I think I still have it in my about page here. Yeah, I think it's still this computer specs here. Intel Core i5 with 8 gigabytes of RAM, an AMD Radeon R7 200 series. I had a 1 terabyte hard drive, and of course the HyperX wireless headset, right? Um, and that's, you know, even that's not the worst. Okay, let's face it. There's some people that might have even, you know, that their computers might even be more terrible than that one. So, try to, try to be forgiving, I guess you might say, for devices. Okay, try to do as much as you can to help out those minimal versions. Now, some of them are like, minimal versions of operating systems. Well, let's face it, there are some people that are still using outdated operating systems and, their computers can't handle a new version, or maybe they can't afford a new version. Um, Now that gets concerning, obviously, because if you do an old version of an operating system, say like Windows XP, right? That is way outdated by now, right? Um, but there might be one or two people out there that might still be using that. Now, should you design the application that works with that? Probably not. Okay, because there's a security risk along those lines now. So, um, so on one hand, try to do as much as you can to help out those that don't have and you know the next best computer out there, right? Or the next best phone or something along those lines. But at the same time, you also have to consider the security implications of that as well. So that's something that you're gonna need to worry about. Internationalization. So basically means that, if you are making an application that is going to be seen in international companies, like say you're an American-based company that was originally national, but you plan on doing international sales. So now you need to have web pages that handle language translation. So so you may need to work on that. So um, share the minimum requirements for each with the team to ensure that they are accounted for during user story elaboration, the configuration of the build, and application testing. Web self-service architecture. The technical implementation of any web self-service function must be agreed upfront. Pega platform supports Pega Web Mashup, DX API, configured OOTB portal. The Pega Web Mashup or the DX API allows Pega platform to drive the user interface for self-service channels by inserting Pega's user interface directly or providing user interface metadata to front-end architectures built off React.js or AngularJS. A configured out-of-the-box portal is typically used for internal applications. And then, of course, there's the governance processes. Governance processes focuses on the team's working practices to ensure the quality of the UI is reviewed regularly through the build phase, both during configuration and unit testing of the application. Best practices require the following actions. UI reviews conducted by the UI solution developer. Within each sprint before the release of the configuration to downstream environments, UI solutions developer establishes a design library at the start of the project and runs regular reviews to ensure that the library is actively maintained as a new design patterns are identified. And as new design patterns are introduced into the library, the UI solutions developer and the experienced designer must ensure that they are consistent with the themes already implemented and adhere to non-functional requirements. Once again, they're introducing even another title. And out of that entire technical architecture, and we're coming to the very end. This is a 2-hour video there, folks. We have a single question. There's a lot of information here, folks. Like a shit ton of information. So, um, so I would suggest, if you are working on your business architect certification, you're probably going to want to try to build yourself some questions or some study guides about this particular topic right here because, my God, this one question does not do it justice. So establish technical design as early as possible in the project during the prepare phase to ensure your application is situated in the application stack and maximize reuse opportunities. I mean, true. So, yeah. But, I mean, yeah, they need more questions here. Or, I mean, they need more questions throughout this entire architecture. One question for this entire topic. There is a ton of information presented here, and there was only one question given at the end. If a business architect is supposed to know everything about this topic, then maybe some additional questions should be created to help the VA learn everything contained within it. All right, that was a process there, folks. I'm sorry about the long video on this one. Um, Technically, I should be going on to my game, but I've already bypassed my video uploads and and the like. Um, so I'm a little behind schedule, but hopefully you appreciate it. 2 hours of talking about the technical architecture when it's like, hey, you could do this in 20 minutes. It's like, are you sure about that? Once again, I swear that they are basically wanting you to just speed read through this and not, and, you know, good luck on memorizing everything inside of it. You need a photographic memory if you want to try to learn everything that's inside this particular topic. So, yikes. Okay. Um, so yeah, do yourself a favor, try to um, go through that topic a little bit more. Try to figure out like some questions of your own because clearly they haven't done anything to help on that. Um, you're probably going to need to check out those other links, seeing that um, that might be on the certification test. Again, I don't know. Um, um, this is this is kind of concerning there, folks, because I don't know what I personally don't know what's going to be on the business architect certification, so I can't help you with that. Um, if someone does, then maybe talk about, you know, how much did you see on the certification test concerning that particular topic that was just covered? How much of that topic did you see? Um, I would, this is one of those topics that, a lot of people should be coming in and talking about because let's face it, this is a bit concerning. How much was there, how much was it felt like it was talking more about what a lead system architect should know versus what the business architect should know. So um, and that's where things feels like it's kind of blurred, and you might get that on certification testing. Okay, a lot of this architecture that they're talking about might still be on the business architecture architect um, certification. You know, the fact that I saw topics that were, you know, that stemmed from, Pega 7 in my 8.6 certification leads me to believe that, the business architecture might be covering some of these topics there, folks. They might have switched it over to the lead system architect, but you might see it in the you still might see it in the business architect. So really study up on those mock exams, check them out, and hopefully we're wrong, but I don't know. So that's it. That's where we're gonna go and close on down for tonight. Didn't have any chatters, but that's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about that. If you're just kind of lurking in the background, thank you for being here. I appreciate you doing that. You don't have to chat with me during these streams, okay? but I would love comments on these videos. So, um, especially on this one particular topic, because I feel like um, anybody that is in the industry or anything along those lines, you have a wealth of information that might be able to um, cut through a lot that has been kind of discussed on that particular topic that was handled there. Okay. You might be able to go, okay, yeah, we do this, but we might also need to do that, that kind of thing. So, so help the Pega community out, and and give those comments. Do everybody a favor along those lines. Okay, so um, not just for yourself and your peers, but for upcoming business architects. Okay. Um, so yeah, that's it. We're gonna go and close on down. Check out the description for social media links, Discord, my team robot, um, and anything else that um, you might want to consider. You know, um, things that might help me out, which is like Patreon and Throne, for example. But again, you don't need to do that if you can't or you don't want to. It's perfectly fine. Okay. It's based on, are you able to and would you be willing? If that doesn't happen, then don't worry about it. No worries. Okay. So, um, so yeah, that's where we're gonna go. That's where we're gonna stop it. So, stopping recording right now.